Om Sahanavadu Sahanavunatu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururapneti Murti Veda Vivagine Vyoma Vadyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Gukarasvandakaro ve Gukarasvandivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururityavidhiyate. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. The Swami Maharshi guided us in inquiring the nature of the self. It all started with the discussion of the yoga, which involved the control of the mind, which involved stopping of the thoughts in the mind, and that way realizing the nature of the self in absence of the mind, in absence of the thoughts, with the assumption that the self shines when the thoughts are absent. Our Swami used to call it a submarine philosophy. Like a submarine surfaces in the water. As long as submarine is within the water, we cannot see it. Only when it surfaces, when the water is not there, you can see it. So as though the self is submerged in the thoughts. As long as thoughts are there, we cannot see it, we cannot realize it. When the thoughts are stopped, when there is absence of thought, then we realize it. So this is the basis of achieving a state of mind which is devoid of all the thoughts. It's a wonderful system. It's a great achievement. There's no question about it. We are just talking about the understanding. That's all we are talking about. As far as the system of yoga is concerned, it's one of the most exalted, and what it achieves also is very exalted. But as long as this is our understanding, yoga chitta vritti nirodha tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. Yoga means the cessation or stoppage of all the thoughts. Tada, at that time, Drashtu Swarupe Avasthanam. Then the drashta, the meditator, abides in his own nature. Meaning that he does not abide in his nature when the thoughts are there. Vedanta says that doesn't have to be. Certainly the self shines when the thoughts are not there, but the self shines even when the thoughts are there. The thoughts cannot prevent the self from shining. The thoughts cannot cover the self. The fact that the thoughts are known or illumined shows that the self is shining. And therefore, although when the mind is devoid of all the thoughts, it's a very exalted state and also helpful perhaps in recognizing the nature of the self. But how long can you keep your mind thoughtless? If the thoughts again arise, does it mean that the self goes in the background? So Vedanta says self is, regardless of whether anything is there or not. When the thoughts are, the self is. When the thoughts are not, the self is. So this is important. When the thoughts are not, of course the self is. Even when the thoughts are, then also the self is. Not only that, but the self of the Atma is totally untouched or unaffected or untainted by the thoughts. And therefore this inquiry into the nature of the self or the I was carried out. And finally we were told that word I, the pronoun I, has two meanings. One is the meaning in which we normally understand what I is. That is, whenever the pronoun I is used, a meaning immediately strikes in my mind. And that is the ego or the individual self. That is what immediately strikes in my mind. I know what I am doing, so I point out inside. That is I that distinguishes me from everything else. The I that I know myself today is the I that does not include you. Understand that in my perception of I today, the you is not included, is it not so? The you and I are mutually exclusive, where you is, I is not, where I is, you is not. That's called mutual exclusion. One excludes the other. I exclude you, in what sense? Meaning that when there is the thought of I, at that time, the you-ness is completely absent in that. And similarly, when there is a thought of you, the I-ness is absent in that. When there is a part of thought, the thought of pot or table, the chair is absent in that. When there is still thought of chair, or the clock, let us say, when there is a thought of clock, the table is not there. When the thought of table comes, it displaces the table chair, thought of chair. You see, one displaces the other. Because in clock, the chairness is not there. In chair, the clockness is not there. Where chairness is, clockness is absent. Where clockness is, chairness is absent. You understand? This is called mutual exclusion. one excludes the other. Thus, when mutual exclusion is there, it is very clear that one is not the other and other is not the one. That is today, in my perception of I, that I is confined to individuality and every I has a boundary. And usually this body is a boundary. And whatever is outside the body is not included in I. This is my understanding or perception of I, myself today. And that forms the basis of my life. That I has a boundary. Boundary means limitation. And therefore, along with the notion of I, the sense of limitedness is always included. Along with the notion of I, the limitedness, the boundness is invariably included. Whether I specifically am aware of it or not, but with I, the limitedness always goes. As I understand it today, the limitedness, the boundness, meaning boundary, is always there. Because that I excludes everything that is outside the limit of I. I has a limit, and everything outside that limit is excluded. And this is very important to understand. And that is what I take myself to be, and that understanding of perception of I becomes the basis of my life. Because along with I, the limitedness is always included or involved, because I has a boundary. Therefore, being bound, being limited is always involved. And therefore, a dissatisfaction is also involved about I. Because limitedness is something that I cannot accept about I. I cannot be comfortable whenever I see myself a limited being, confined to boundaries. I cannot be comfortable with myself. It seems that I have an expectation of myself. I am born with an expectation of myself. What is that expectation? That I should be boundless. That I should be limitless. That is an expectation that I have of myself. And therefore, whenever I find myself limited, confined to a boundary, then naturally I am not able to fulfill my own expectation of myself. I am not able to live up to my own expectation of myself. When something does not live up to my expectation, then I become dissatisfied with that. Is it not so? This pizza is not like that one, His acting is not like what it was. Meaning, I have an expectation as to what a thing should be. When it is not, I express my dissatisfaction. So understand that I always have an expectation of myself. That I should be boundless. I should be limitless. When did that expectation start? I am born with that expectation. Why? Why do I have that kind of an expectation of myself? That's impossible to fill. I'm trying to fulfill that expectation. I find myself limited and I am struggling hard to fulfill that expectation of becoming limitless. And I'm trying, everything that I do is motivated by this desire of becoming limitless, becoming boundless. So whether I acquire something, that also is with the expectation that I'll become limitless, or when I give up something, that also is an expectation that I'll become boundless. Anything that I do or don't do, in anything that I do or do not do, this is the expectation. This is hope that I'll become limitless, meaning become free from limitation, free from being bound. Now imagine with this expectation from myself, can I ever be satisfied with myself? Never. Formerly I was poor and limited, now I am rich and limited anyway, because nothing can be limitless. The distance between one and infinity is infinity. Distance between 100 and infinity also is infinity. Distance between million and infinity also is infinity. Distance between a billion and infinity also is infinity. And distance between trillion and infinity also is infinity. Even if you become a trillionaire, the distance with infinity which I expect is always being infinite. Meaning that regardless of what I become, I can never be limitless. Meaning I can never be satisfied with myself. Every moment of awareness about myself, there is involved a dissatisfaction about myself. When I am not satisfied with myself, I don't accept myself, a non-acceptance of myself. Sometimes the non-acceptance builds up to rejection of myself, and sometimes condemnation of myself. All this because I find myself limited, not being able to live up to my own expectation of myself. This is called ignorance, this is called Maya. Yesterday question was, is ignorance really overwhelms this happiness? Yes. Thus we are born with this perception of ourselves. Thank God that that is not the reality about myself. Although my perception of myself is that I am a limited being, thank God that the saving grace is that that is not the reality about myself. It is a false perception of myself. Like where there is rope, there is false perception that it is a snake. And false perception is always born of ignorance. That's why we say there is ignorance. Ignorance is inferred understanding. But effective ignorance is experience, you know. Experience of perceiving the snake, that presupposes that I am ignorant of what really is there, namely rope. Similarly, I perceive myself as a limited being. That shows that there is ignorance of the fact that limitlessness is my nature. So we are born with ignorance, which brings about this false perception. This is what Maya has done to us. To whom? To self, to the limitless, to Brahman. This is what Maya has done. Unbelievable, but that's what it is. And this poor Brahman is trying and struggling to become, limitless, struggling to become free. And in every effort, we find that only sense the kind of limitation changes. Yes, he struggles and overcomes one kind of limitation, a different kind of limitation comes. But limitation remains of one kind or the other, meaning the sense that I am limited always remains, it does not go away. And therefore, I get totally fed up with myself, frustrated with myself, and therefore the need to avoid myself. And the only way I can avoid is when I can escape from myself. And therefore, intoxication is the method that we employ for avoiding our, intoxication by alcohol, etc. is very gross intoxication. But taking my cell phone and watching video game in there also is nothing but a way of intoxication. When I want to forget myself. Poor human being always trying to escape from himself. All activities are escape distractions. And poor thing, that video game, how much satisfaction can it give me? So I want some other game, I want some other device, I want some other gadget, I want something else. And thus my mind keeps on demanding varieties, and there is a world that obliges me. All right, here is another variety, another variety. And that's how I give business to the whole world. That's how the economy runs. Otherwise there is no economy, nothing. What will happen, Swamiji? What will happen to progress? I don't know what will happen to progress. Whether progress will stop or not, I don't know, but misery will stop for sure. And then you ask me whether you need progress or not. Every time this stupid question, what will happen to progress? Why do you want progress? For becoming free. What do you want progress for the sake of progress or what? We told you that story. This wealthy person who lives in Bombay, very big businessman. Business means a lot of stresses. He always needs a vacation now and then. So away from Bombay, somewhere in a very beautiful place on a beach, he has a nice beach home. So once or twice a year he takes a vacation by himself. No telephone, no internet, he just cuts himself off and relaxes. Every morning he wakes up in a lazy way, no more alarms, and strolls on the beach, just enjoys, relaxes. So one morning when he was relaxing like this, strolling on the beach, he found that there was another man also, like a poor fellow, poor looking person also, was strolling like that. Their paths crossed 2-3 times, and then this man is curious and he stopped the other person. So what are you doing? Just walking, taking stroll in the morning. Why, you don't have anything to do or what? This man could not imagine that somebody that can stroll and has nothing to do. I have nothing to do. What do you mean nothing? I'm a fisherman. I just take my boat and fish for 2 hours a day, and whatever I get is enough for me. What is it? Suppose you fish for 4 hours. Well, then my income will be double. And if you go on with that, then you'll be able to save money. You're right. You can buy another boat, that is true. You can employ somebody, right? So 2 boats, the income yet doubles. And 4 boats, and like this you give a whole plan, right? Right. What do you do with all these fish? Hey, you can process them, you can plant, you can package them, you can export them. Whole plan of becoming what? A billionaire. Then what? What do you mean then what? Go to Bombay, build a beautiful home, live there. And then build, see, I have beach home here. How I come and relax here. How do I relax? Look, I'm strolling on the beach. So that's what I'm doing already. So the progress for what purpose? Every time this, what will happen to progress? Progress is for what? For myself, not for somebody else. Atmanasu kamaya saram. Ultimately, everything is meant for the pleased self. When am I pleased? When I find myself free from limitation. Either I really become free from limitation, or I delude myself in believing that I am free from limitation. That moment I become happy. The delusion goes away, I again find myself limited, and again happiness or bother. Mostly we delude ourselves. Because self-delusion creates situations where I can delude myself for a while that I'm no limitation at all. Become happy. But that limitedness again comes back. This is the human life. That's called samsara. And people again oblige us. Not only worldly people oblige, even spiritually also oblige. Religious people also oblige. So do this and you'll get this. Do this and you'll go to paradise. You go to heaven. You go someplace. We do that. But regardless of where you go, you cannot be free from limitation. Because where you go, that also is limited. Thus, the Vedas talk of different lokas, different realms, different heavens, 7 heavens. Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Swaha, Maha, Jana, Tapaha, Satyam. Satyaloka, Brahmaloka, the highest heaven. Even that also is limited. So Lord Krishna says, Brahma Bhuvanam Lokaha Punaravartino. Hey Arjuna, all the worlds or realms up to Brahma Loka, all of them are subject to Punaravartanam, meaning that they are created, they remain, they emerge, they merge back, merge back. All part of samsara. Even going to Brahma Loka also, you cannot escape samsara. You cannot escape forever the sense of being limited. And so, ahamayam kuto bhava. What's the true nature of this aham? What I've taken for granted, is it the true nature of myself? That's what Vedanta now, that's where Vedanta comes in. And therefore Vedanta focuses its attention on aham, I. Because the Swami says that I is a problem, and that I alone can become. Where the problem is, there alone the solution has to be. Therefore, the first recognition is the problem is in I. And therefore, the solution also has to be found in I. Unfortunately, I have taken for granted or presupposed that problem is elsewhere. Somebody else is making me unhappy. Someone else or something else is the cause of my unhappiness. And then I try to correct those things which I look upon as the causes of my unhappiness. And that I, which is the real source of unhappiness, remains intact. So Vedanta says, look at yourself. And so that is why Vedanta says there is something called ignorance. And ignorance, what kind of ignorance? Ignorance that causes false perception. Ignorance of the rope causes the false perception of the snake. And so also ignorance of the self causes the false perceptions or notions or conclusions or opinions or complexes about the self. So once again now there went to verse 22. So we say that the I now has one meaning as I understand it, limited I, which excludes everything outside the boundary of I. There is another meaning of I also, which is what? All-inclusive I. There is an I that is not opposed to you. Should I understand I as opposed to you, which excludes you and which feels excluded by you? That's another problem. Our problem is that we feel excluded, not included. I feel isolated. So then there is an I, which is all inclusive. That's what we call the lakshyartha or implied meaning of the word I. The vachyartha, the literal or immediate meaning of our I or pronoun I, is whatever strikes in my mind whenever that pronoun I is used. Whenever a word is used, what immediately strikes in our mind is called the literal meaning or vachyartha or the word meaning. And sometimes that word meaning is not the true meaning. The grammatical meaning may not be the true meaning. Then you have to go for lakshyartha, the implied meaning. So I, like these two people are standing on the balcony, two friends. And there is a street on which a man is walking towards them. He is dressed in white, walking like this. Early morning. So this friend tells the other friend, look, the white horse is coming. Look for a white, there's no white horse. The white horse is coming. So white horse means white horse. It also is something else. It is also the name of an alcohol, a beverage, some whiskey or something like that. And that's what that fellow has. That's why he's walking like a horse. He's in white and walking like a horse. But the white horse is inside him. So the immediate or literal meaning of a white horse is a white horse. When that does not apply to a given situation, then you go for the implied meaning, oh, you mean that white horse? Yeah. Then it strikes in my mind. Oh. So that's the implied meaning of the word white horse, So when you use the pronoun I, what immediately strikes is that I, but then Upanishad says, you are Brahman. Tattvamasi, that thou art, you are Brahman. Now Brahman of course means limitless, that's what Brahman means. Brahatvad Brahman. So that which grows, that which big, that is big. How big? The big. That is boundless, limitless. That's what Brahma means. You are Brahma. That means I am Brahma. Now what is I? The limited. What is Brahma? Limitless. How can both be in the same location? So either what the Upanishad says is wrong or what I think is wrong, isn't it? My conclusion so far has been that the I is limited. And Upanishad says you are limitless. So this is where Shraddha comes. Shraddha means what? The trust. Trust in the words of the Upanishads. Because we look upon Upanishad as Pramanam. What is Pramanam? Valid means of knowledge. And usually the teaching of Upanishad comes through teacher, therefore the words of teacher also become Pramanam. Shastrasya Guruvakyasya Satyabuddhyavadharana. Sa Shraddha. That what the Shastra or the scriptures say and what the teachers say, Satyabuddhya. It is Satyam, it is true. So that kind of an attitude of the mind, or that frame of the mind, which automatically takes what the scripture says is true and what the teacher says is true. That frame of mind is called Shraddha. If I was a Shraddha, then I will start questioning my conclusion rather than what the Upanishad says. Otherwise I question that. Usually whenever we are told something that is different from our present conclusion, we question, what do you mean by that? You're stupid. What do you mean I'm stupid? Because I think I'm smart. You think you call me stupid. I question it. So similarly, I know that I am limited. Upanishad, you are limited. What do you mean I am limitless? That would be my natural response. But the Shraddha, the trust enables me to keep away from rejecting or resisting what I am told, and not swallowing what I am told, but not rejecting what I am told. Meaning that I will give a benefit of doubt to what I am told. Maybe what they say is right, maybe what I think is wrong. That possibility, arises. Therefore, then I start inquiring into what my conclusion is. Do I have valid reasons to entertain the opinion that I am entertaining about myself? Do I have valid reasons to hold on to the conclusion that I have about myself? If not, if what I conclude or what I believe or what I think about myself is totally opposed to what Upanishad says, then I start questioning my own conclusion. Then I start inquiring, what's the nature of I? I think that I am limited. Is that that conclusion, does it have valid reasons? Or is it simply taken for granted? But on what basis does the Upanishad say that you are limitless? Then they tell us, all right, may you inquire into what is the true nature of I. What's the true nature of I? So then the next verse tells us, verse number 22. Vigrahendriya pranadhitamah nahamekasat tajjadam yasat. So the way the Upanishad teaches us is by the method of negation. It's very famous, neti neti. That's the famous statement from the Upanishad, neti neti. Na iti, na iti, na idam, na idam. I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. Meaning whatever can be categorized as this, I am not. What is this? Something that is the object of my knowledge, something that I am aware of, isn't it? The pronoun this is used for what? Something that is evident to me, something that I am aware of, something that is an object of my awareness, something that I objectify, is it not so? And then who am I? I am the one who objectifies. There is an objectifier, which is what we call subject, and that which is objectified, which is what we call object, right? So what's the true nature of I? I am the subject. What's the true nature of subject? I cannot be object. But today, in my perception of I, or the subject, the object also is mixed up, unfortunately. Today, in my perception of I, or the subject, the object also is mixed up. And therefore, in my present understanding of I, There is element of subject as well as element of object. Subject also is there, object also is there. Therefore, in order for me to know the true nature of I, the object part has to be eliminated. Somebody gives me a candy. In this, the candy is also there and the wrapper also is there. And I should remove the wrapper in order to eat the candy. Isn't that right? If I put the whole thing in my mouth, then the taste will be different. Very often the wrappers are made of silver or water foil and they are bitter, and so the candy will taste bitter. Similarly, in the eye, the candy also is there, the wrapper also is there. Today the whole thing is taken as I, along with wrapper. Like a little child would think that this is candy, put the whole thing in his mouth. Similarly, along with the wrapper, the I is taken to be myself. Therefore there is bitterness, therefore there is limitedness, therefore there is lack and want. There is bitterness, there is lack, there is want, there is limitedness in the wrapper, not in the I. But what belongs to the wrapper is taken by me to belong to I. Therefore, the wrapper must be removed, that's all. You don't have to produce the candy. You don't have to achieve the candy, it's there already. Without the candy, the wrapper cannot be understood. All that we need to do is just to remove the wrapper. Throw away the bath water. Keep the baby with you. So this is the process. That's why the Vedanta famously teaches by neti neti, not this, by process of negation. It's always by process of negation. It's a wrong alarm, it's not 8:30 yet.
Sorry, I had it on airplane mode. Sorry.
That's all right, don't worry. It's a nice little entertaining distraction. It will be a very serious discussion that we have. People need a little break also. That provides a little break. And everybody has fun at your cost also. So that's another thing. This person is so embarrassed when he drinks like this, and everybody has fun. At one point that happened to me, my own phone rang. I was carrying my bag, I usually do that, and the phone was in there. And then when things were going on, the class started ringing, So sometimes the Swami also becomes an object of humiliation of fun. So therefore the process of negation, neti neti, what I am not. And when we let go what I am not, I am holding on to what I am not, thinking that that's what I am. Today, I am holding on to something which I am really not. I am holding on to it because I think that is I. Therefore, in what I think as I, do I have the reason to really believe that is I? So Vedanta then teaches us what we call the Druk Drishya Viveka. Viveka, the separation between Druk and Drishya, the seer and seen, the subject and object, the I and non-I, the self and non-self. Because both are lumped together. In my present notion of I, the self and non-self, both are lumped together. The subject and object are both lumped together. Therefore the non-I part The object part has to be let go. Let go is not also a physical process. It's not that, although we give the example of wrapper, which requires a physical action to remove, because wrapper enjoys the same degree of reality as the candy there, but here that wrapper doesn't enjoy. So you don't have to do anything. Meaning that in removing the wrapper, as far as eye is concerned, no action is involved. Action would have been involved if the wrapper enjoyed the same degree of reality as the candy, as eye. Here the wrapper is mithya and the eye is satyam. Therefore, what is meant by giving up the wrapper? What is meant by giving up the non-I is to recognize that it is mithya. That's all. Recognize that it is non-I. The recognition is giving up. The non-recognition is holding on to, and true recognition is giving up. You follow? That actor was put on a costume of beggar. For whatever reason, is concluded that I am beggar. The actor is a very wealthy person, has for some reason some problem in his mind. Maybe intoxication, maybe something. Because of which intoxication is a very common cause. With intoxicated people forget who they are even, In the olden movies you see like a person totally so intoxicated, he comes out of his nightclub or whatever and is sitting on the footpath where there is all the gutter is there, Gutter is all the sewage thing there. That's where he's sitting. He thinks he's in heaven. So people forget themselves because of intoxication and they think they're something else. So the intoxication of Maya or ignorance makes us forget what we are and makes us believe what we are not. Therefore the word Maya is used. Therefore the word intoxication, that's what delusion are used. These words are used so that we can understand in our own language. That problem is one, there is no real problem in that sense. The problem is merely of delusion, you can say, or aviveka, non-discrimination, or a superimposition, meaning taking the costume to be myself. So what should that actor do to again become wealthy? The actor, on account of taking himself to a beggar, has become a very poor fellow. As far as he is concerned, when he stretches out his hand, he is really begging, please give me something. So what should be done to make him wealthy? You don't need to give him $1 billion. Just make him aware of what he is, because he is already a wealthy person. A wealthy person will superimpose the beggarliness upon himself. See? When a wealthy person thinks that I am a beggar, you know what it means? It means that he has superimposed the beggarliness upon himself. Is it not so? Where does beggarliness belong? It is there someplace, but not very things. The beggarliness is someplace. Where is it? It is in the costume. Where is the beggar? In the costume. So beggar is someplace. But because of intoxication, this fellow puts it where it is not, and he thinks, I am the beggar. So Vedanta calls it superimposition. Psychology call it transference, transferring one thing onto other. Vedanta calls it superimposition. That beggarliness that belongs to one place is seen to be elsewhere, is superimposed upon something else. Some time ago, when I was traveling in India, in the Indian railway trains, I woke up early morning and went to the bathroom, and then I looked at my face in the bathroom mirror and I was shocked. My face had become twisted. What happened to me in that night? Did I have some kind of stroke or something? Why Swami is so worried? What happened to you? What happened to me? Nothing has happened to you. No, my face is twisted. We went to bathroom. The mirror was twisted. But that distortion that belonged to one place was sought to belong to somewhere else, and that causes all kinds of problems. So distortion is there someplace, but not where I think it is. The beggarliness is in some place, but not where the actor thinks it is. So limitedness is then someplace, but not where I think it is. That's all. That's what you have to see. The beggar need not even remove his costume. Even if he removes the costume, if that notion remains, then he still remains beggar. Even when he is putting on the costume, all he needs to know that his costume where the beggar is and that I am unaffected by that. So similarly, we just have to recognize that all limitedness belongs to my costume. And the costume never affects me. And therefore the Upanishads tell us a story. How this is my costume. So Upanishad says that at the beginning of creation, Ishvara or Brahman thought that may I create, may I become many? Says Bahusyam, may I become many. How can one become many? Please tell me. Is there a way that one can become many? Is it possible? But sometimes we do become many. There are some parallel mirrors in front of us. We become many. Isn't there many reflections? Or you fit 500 mirrors in this room and enter the room. What happens? A whole world of Swamis is created. 500 Swamis appear. And if that mirror is all different from each other, one is a convex mirror, one is concave mirror, and they all, then what? 500 different kinds of Swamis are there. Bahusya, may I become many. With that thought I entered the room, I became many. As though became many. If something happens to me and I think that there are really many, then there is a problem. Then I am one among many. They are different, I am different. I exclude them, they exclude me. So manyness is there, all right. But then it is not as real as I am. That manyness is an appearance. I as though entered every mirror and thus became 500. You can say, that's a story you can tell a child, I shall become many. And I created all these 500 mirrors and entered them. Look at me. Dad, you are like that. He thinks. So when that says that in the beginning of creation, Brahman, self, Atma, limitlessness may become many. Why? I don't know. To have fun. So you create various mirrors, to enter them, isn't it? That's how you become many. There's no other way of one becoming many. Unless you split yourself, then you don't remain one. So you don't want to split yourself and destroy yourself. You want to remain what? And then become many. The only way that the one can become many is by creating 500 mirrors and entering the mirrors. Is it not so? So the Creator in the beginning of creation said, may I become many? Bahusyam. That's the expression. Bahusyam. Bahu means many. Syam means may I become. Bahusyam. May I become many. So he created mirrors. How many? Countless mirrors he created. 8.4 different million species. Because he's a master creator. He is omniscient. He is the greatest artist and ever. I can create some kind of mirrors. He has created 8.4 million kinds of, that is the number of species. In each one of them there are countless mirrors again. And then what he does? Tat srishtva tadeva anupravishada. Having created them, he entered into them. So this is the description. Having created mirrors, he entered the mirrors. Who will enter the mirror? But looks like I entered the mirror, is it not so? Is it not that I look like I entered in all those mirrors? At least to a child, you say, I'm a Swamiji, you are there also. Everywhere you are there, yes. And thus Ishvara created all each one of us is a mirror. He entered all the mirrors. How many is there? As many mirrors are there, as many Brahman is there, as many Atma is there. Is it not so? Yes and no? If you think that that's a real Swami, then there are many Swamis. If you have the knowledge that all of them are mithya or appearance, then there is only one Swami, in spite of appearing as many. So what is my perception right now? There are all these countless Atmas, countless selves. I am one of them. And thereby I feel a sense of smallness, separatedness, exclusion, isolatedness, comparison, jealousy, superiority, all kinds of complexes. When there are many or more than one, every complex will happen. You need only two. You don't even need many. Compare yourself. Even spouses compare themselves. And they even have jealousy of each other. That's what I heard, I don't know. Sometimes they compare with each other. Swami, I do everything, he always gets all the credit, or vice versa. Moment there are two, vidyadvai bhayam bhavati. Upanishad says, moment there are two, what is two? Mutual exclusion. Not two means two appearing as two. There can be many appearances and still there can be one. What is two? When one excludes the other. That's called Veda. In Sanskrit, there is the word Bheda. What is Bheda? Anyonya abhava. Anyonya, mutual. Abhava, absence or exclusion. Mutual exclusion is called Bheda. So what is called Dvaita, duality, is Bheda. Is not two. It is mutual exclusion. There can be countless, and still, as long as they do not exclude each other, there can be one, you follow. There need not be duality just because you count more than one. There is duality when you exclude each other. This is Vedanta, Says that just because there is an appearance of many does not mean that there has to be many. You're taken for granted. Appearance need not be taken to be real. The snake appears to be there, doesn't mean it is to be taken real. The many appears to be there, doesn't mean it is to become real. The limited appears to be, doesn't mean it to be taken real. This question is a very fundamental thing, which the whole world takes for granted and then begins. Then they start advising and counseling you. But Vedanta questions a very basic, notion. Because if you take the wrong to be right, then whatever build up is all going to be right, wrong only, isn't it? It's like decorating a donkey with all kinds of gold. That's the language, in our language. This is one of the things I say, However you decorate, this remains donkey only. That's what the world does. Look at, it's amazing what we are doing. Just because of the wrong notion. Wrong understanding. So Vedanta says wrong understanding is the problem and right understanding is solution. So knowledge is solution. What is knowledge? Right understanding. Where does the place of knowledge come, or the occasion of knowledge comes? When there is ignorance. And what does ignorance do? It creates wrong notions, wrong perceptions, wrong conclusions. Everywhere karmanika, the karmani. So Lord Krishna is the one who sees actionless where there is action, and action where there is action, inaction, etc. Meaning that where we are seeing action, in fact there is actionless. Where we see there is inaction, in fact there is action. Look at this. So the language that they use seems to be a language of paradox. Karmani akarmaya pashe. One who sees actionless in action. What do you mean? How can you see that? That's the language. One who sees actionless in action. How can you see actionless in action? So he's doing something. In my mind, should I create a picture that he's not doing it? When there is action, somehow I see action there. How do I do that? That will be another delusion only. He says, no, it is not that we are saying that you change the actionless and action into actionless. What is actionless, you are seeing it as action. What is in fact actionless, you think it is action. Therefore we say, look closely. What is rope? You are looking at seeing it as snake. Look closely, then you will find out that it is rope. So Vedanta asks us to look closely. And so it is a Vigrahendriya Pranadhitamah Nameka Sat Tat Jadam Yasat. Vigraha Indriya Pranadhitamah. All of this. Aham, I am not. Why you are not? Ekam, I am one. There are many. Sat, I am Sat. Real, true. They are untrue, unreal, mithya. So, Ramana Maharshi gives also here the very logic. Aham ekam Sat, I am one and Sat. Tad jadam and asat, that is jada and asat. Meaning that they are mutually exclusive. One cannot be many, and the real cannot be unreal. The self-shining cannot be non-self-shining. Because they are totally contradictory, therefore they cannot be in one location. Two things can be in one location provided they are compatible, but darkness and light cannot be in one location, isn't it? I am light, they are all darkness. Therefore, they cannot be in one location. So that's how that what's the nature of I is here further explored, so that it becomes understandable to us. We'll continue. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.